Yeah, every time I look, it reminds me of a book, yeah, that I read a very, very, very long time ago. Whoa. Reminds me of a book, yeah, that I read a very, very, very long time ago. Whoa.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Can I have your attention, please? The big show is about to begin. First of all, I want to welcome everyone to the Bitter End Yacht Club. This is a pretty cool spot if you haven't figured it out by now. And just to let you know that we have our counterparts in Chicago at minus 50 or 60 million watching via Skype, so we're waving at you guys. Wave away, lads. Wave, everyone, say hello! Wish you were here. Have a Goose Island for me, please. Big fan. Clearly this is a pretty cool night. Bitter End has always been kind of cutting edge in terms of introducing cool people and cool events and all that kind of stuff. And I have to say that the fact that we have these gentlemen standing right here at this moment is pretty much as cool as it gets. So thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming. Big round of applause, please. So I'm just going to get things rolling. You know, I watched the last 9 races of the event, and you know, every race was the last race, and so it's like, okay, let's just watch this one because what's going to happen? Okay, it's a done deal. Oh, no, they won again. And then, okay, let's watch tomorrow. You know, that's going to be the end of it, and boop, they won again. And so on, and so on, and so on. I do remember that scathing interview with Mr. Jimmy Spithill, who essentially was so stoic and reserved and could have really lost the plot. He was getting hammered by the press, and I'm not sure how he did it, but he just kind of said, you know, keep it going, guys. And I mean, the last race, well, that was a bit of a walk, but it was very, very impressive, and I don't know, it was awesome. Well done, lads. I have a couple of questions. My buddy John Glynn, John, right there. With all the publicity this recent America's Cup win has gotten, do you think sailing has gone mainstream? After all, James, you were on late night TV and The Daily Show. Actually, it was the Colbert Report. And that must have been quite an experience. So my question to you is, what's Stephen Colbert like? That guy's nuts. No, seriously.
No, I mean, it's been amazing. Well, firstly, thanks very much for having us here tonight. It really is a piece of paradise here, and we're thoroughly enjoying ourselves. So, but no, it's been fantastic. I mean, Larry Ellison really had a vision, and he wanted to try and promote the sport and get it out to the mainstream. And one thing that we needed to do was, he said from day one, any successful sport works on TV or has a great TV product. And, you know, for non-sailors, you know, the old America's Cup and the monohulls, as interesting as it was for sailors, it just didn't connect with mainstream and non-sailors and, you know, especially young people that weren't into sailing. So that's why the change to the catamarans. And then the other part was, well, spectators. You know, in the past, the America's Cup's been raced way offshore. You know, the race would go for hours on end, and even if you went out there to watch it, they'd push you off the course so you couldn't see anything. So, okay, we've got to bring it in so people can see it. And that's why San Francisco worked well, because it was like a stadium. I mean, when we sailed, you could hear people cheering. So, you know, that was a big part of it. And because of those two things, the boats being very, very physical, you know, really on the edge, a lot of risk, and the spectating part, it drew in a new audience, and then with the comeback, it sort of even drew in a bigger audience because it started getting into the the papers and all the network news reports. So which is great, because then people get to understand the water and they get to see this great sport that Shannon and I are both in.
Because for us and all of you guys here, because I think most of you are sailing fanatics, it seems like it was the greatest cup, and it was. But for a lot of people, I think the moment they really connected was, as Jimmy mentioned, the human aspect. When the comeback started, it really got into a lot of households, and the product that Russell and Larry had really dreamt up to have a really good TV package and amazing boats and a new design was something that when people heard about the story about this insurmountable hill to climb and the odds against us, they sort of clicked over the channel and started watching, and it was actually, whoa, there was something to actually really be interested in. And so it was really that last week that I would say it really went mainstream. In the 3 years leading up to the final, I couldn't sit down to dinner with my dad because of the changes that had been made to the sport, and oh my God, we're sailing cats, and it's it's really short racing and all that stuff. But I think in today's age, to go mainstream, we have to really target our younger generation, and there's so many sports out there that are really taking their their attention when they're going through school and all that. So to have really cool boats coming out there, like foiling moths, and even Jimmy and I today, we were kiting and we're foiling, so to get that into it, it's a really good thing. So to have attracted sponsors like Red Bull and GoPro, which are things that when they go online and go on YouTube and all that kind of stuff, if it's stamped by them, it's something they watch and something they want to be involved in. So I think going grassroots, thinking 10 years down the line, I think we're sort of sowing the seed for something really exciting.
Yeah. Thank you. I mean, it's funny, my son, I've got a 12-year-old son, and he wants to make his little Boston Whaler a foiling boat now. I mean, everything he looks at, I can make that foil, that could foil my bicycle, I can make that foil. It's all about foiling now. I think some of the questions, I know that in the past, probably in the last 20 years, when it was all about USA versus Australia and the Kiwis, Australia, big rivalry. When the sport went more international, do you think that's been a good thing for the sport?
I'm going to say yes, because I was an Australian and an American team, so otherwise I wouldn't have had a job. So I'm definitely pro, mixing it up. But no, look, I think it really is a part of professional sport. If you look at, I mean, the big sports in America are really basketball, football, and baseball. And if you look at those sports, there's actually quite a big mix of nationalities in there. You look at the basketball teams, the baseball teams, it's, a lot of the players usually aren't from the city that team is, sort of representing and franchising from. And then there's quite a lot of players too that aren't from, America, where the competition's been held. But one thing I've always found is I think the beauty of sport is that there's no discrimination, there's no judgment, in that once that starting gun goes, or the bell for the boxing rounds sounds, nothing else matters. It doesn't matter where you're from, what your background is. All that matters is who's worked the hardest, who's got the talent, and who really wants it. And that's what's great about sport, because in life, life's not always fair. There's always a bit of politics here and there, but that's the cool thing. When that starting gun goes, nothing else matters, and you're kind of equal. I think the other thing in sport is that when you do race and you go out there, you want to take on the best. I mean, you could be a heavyweight and you could beat a lightweight, no problem. But what you want is when you beat the very best, then that really, you feel that. And that's what makes it, I think, really rewarding for the guys. And I guess the last point I'll say on that is that I've been in teams where it's been a majority of, let's say, one nationality, so all Australian or New Zealand. And what I found is you generally get a certain way of thinking, because you come from the same, that culture, and you've got that kind of, that way of thinking. When you get a different group of nationalities, the European, Southern Hemisphere, North America, you know, the game, it's a bit of a problem-solving game. You know, you're trying to solve these problems, get faster and engineer and design and build this boat. When you've got a mix of a group, you get a different way of thinking. And what ends up happening is you usually come to a better solution, you know, getting some different minds and some different ways to approach it. And once again, it becomes really rewarding. Because sometimes, you know, initially you may not always mix because okay, this person's from a different culture, but it's really rewarding when you can get that whole sort of unity together. And it's about, you know, we really enjoyed, you know, the best people. Doesn't matter where you're from, you're sort of picked for your talent and your attitude. And I think that's kind of professional sport. That's where it's going. Having said that, I think there probably will be some sort of nationality clause, you know, a percentage, because that is important. You know, there needs to be some sort of connection there, and that can also help. For instance, in America, you know, a great thing would be to try and help youth sailing, you know, and grow some of the next guys that'll be out there. So no, but look, for us, I mean, you know, Shannon can answer himself, but what I love, I want to go against the best. You know, I don't care where you're from. It's just whoever wants to put the work in and make the commitment and the sacrifice, then you know, they should be there.
Thank you very much. Thank you.